All right, it looks like most of us are here, so I'm going to get us started. Thanks everyone for joining today's call. Today we have an AIC panel and Q&A session with James, Jesse, and Tunde, who can share more about their experience pitching for AIC last year. So to get us started, can you just give us a quick introduction with your names, where you're currently based, and the venture that you pitched for last year? So we can start with James and then pass it on to Jesse and then Tunde.
Hello, everyone. My name is James. I'm actually calling in from Juba, South Sudan. It's a nice sunny day, almost 40 degrees outside, very, very hot in this part of the world. I run an enterprise called Rainmaker, a social enterprise organization that is based here in South Sudan, working within the food, water, and energy nexus. And last year, I was among the people that participated in the AIC competition, and we were pitching sessions. And I did mine actually virtually. I was actually based here in Juba, though I had someone from one of my colleagues who was in New York attend in person. But as the founder and executive director of the organization that I lead, I was presenting online. And I look forward to having discussions with all of you. I hope that some of the insights that I will share will be able to help you in your preparation for this year's AIC competition. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Can you share a brief overview of the venture that you pitched?
So the venture that I pitched last year is integrated solutions, integrated water solutions for food security within South Sudan. So specifically, we were pitching the concept of solar-powered irrigation systems, especially in rural areas that are impacted by climate change, and also provision of mechanized farming services to smallholder farmers, as well as food value addition for smallholder farmers to boost local food production so that we can address extreme hunger and food insecurity.
Great, thanks, James. And I'll pass it on to Jesse. Oh, I think you're muted.
There we go. You guys can hear me? All good? All right. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Jesse Karanja. I'm calling in from Nairobi, Kenya. I'm a proud Resolution Project Fellow with Zindua School and Chapter Global. And, I was fortunate enough to be one of the AIC participants last year in New York. The company I pitched was Chapter Global, which is a deferred tuition payment service provider. We offer income, or at least we assist schools to be able to offer income share agreements and flexible payments to their students. And I'm happy to join you guys. Hopefully this is worth your while. And congratulations to everyone who's gotten in this year.
Thanks, Jesse. And where are you based?
Nairobi. I'm in Nairobi, Kenya. Yes.
Amazing. And lastly, I'll pass it on to Tunde.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's nice joining this meeting today. My name is Tunde Oyebamiji, and I'm the co-founder and the COO of Project LenderNam. So at LenderNam, we're improving access to safe blood and blood products for women and children with bleeding emergencies, those that just give birth and have postpartum, and have bleeding after childbirth, children with anemia that need blood. So that's what we've been doing for the past 3 to 4 years. And between that time, we've moved more than 5,000 units of blood, and we've saved almost 10,000 lives up to now. And I was really, it was nice to actually join the AIC last year. I think it was an amazing experience. And we've actually moved like really fast since after the AIC, and I'm very happy to be here to share my experience. I'm calling from the UK. I just finished my master's now, so I'll be back in Nigeria very soon.
Great, thanks, Tunde. So now I'm going to open up the space for questions. Feel free to drop your question in the chat or just use the raise your hand function. And then we can get started with the Q&A session.
Hello, good afternoon and good morning, James, Jesse, and Tunde. Nice to meet you all on the call here. Can you share some of the most memorable events from AIC? Where did you find the greatest value for those of you who are able to attend in person? And what would you sort of share with us as far as something to really lean into while in New York City?
So Jesse and Tunde were able to pitch in person, James pitched virtually, and so anyone can go first to answer Brendan's question.
All right, okay, I think I can. Oh, yeah, I can see Tunde trying
You
to
did,
speak.
but Jesse, did you have a answer first?
I'll allow. Okay, sorry. Right, I'll proceed. I think I'll answer it in two ways. So, of course, there's a social aspect, in everything you experience while you're in New York. And there's also the quote unquote the professional aspect. And in this case, it's more of the conversations we had, especially with the founders who are around. Personally, especially being in New York, we were able to pitch to them in person. And the conversations were very enriching. I think one thing I learned is, unlike a typical investor who's, trying to pick holes in your company or venture and trying to, see what you're doing wrong. These guys were actually very interested in just helping you maybe think through some of the challenges in your company. And I had very, very good and dare I say intimate conversations with most of them. I happened to meet Jeremy, I think from Impact, who had actually worked in the coding space in Kenya. And so our conversation was also very enriching, hearing his experience with income share agreements, which is what we're trying to do. And so I think from that particular perspective, I'd say you approach the conversations, like you're talking to a friend, like someone, like a mentor, so to speak, like someone who's looking to, even if you're looking just to get some money from them, just be as open as possible. Just feel free to share both the good and the bad. And I think that is something I'd have done better if I was to do it again. I think being in New York, especially, it was my first time being there. I took the opportunity to explore as much as possible. We got lost with Tunde here. You can see him smiling. He remembers that. And so I think the experience was really good. I think off the program, we took our time to just go around, visit different places. Some of us remained behind once the program ended to just explore further. And I mean, I think traveling is very enriching. You get to experience different cultures. And I'd say especially you've never been there, don't waste this chance. Be sure to travel, interact with as many people as possible, make friends. I think Tunde, we still talk to date. And just get the most out of it. Just get the most out of it. Yeah.
And Tunde, I know before I saw you speaking, but you were muted.
Yeah, thank you very much for the question. I think, just as said it all, but I just want to add a few things. I remember, three aspects for me now. I've been to New York before, but still, I still got lost anyway with Jesse and our other friend. But myself and Jesse were roommates, and we actually discussed about a whole lot of things, like ranging from our ventures to long-term goals and stuff like that. And it was so amazing that at the end of the day, we both actually got some really significant funding and all, just beyond the fact that you're there to actually, of course, from the very beginning, the resolution plan, their program, from the social venture challenge to every other thing, it's not a sort of competition really. It's actually young people coming together. And if you actually deserve to be funded, you will be funded, regardless whether or not the other person is funded. That means, you could be 30 in the room and then all 30 of you actually get some form of funding. So the program is designed for you guys to come together, you know, share ideas, talk about your venture, talk about difficulty. I mean, some people have actually gone through those things before. I remember those times when we had this solution session where we had to, like, you know, write things where different things we're experiencing in our venture. And I mean, of course, some people came up with, some people had those problems in the past and actually shared with us, I mean, how they've been able to, like, overcome those. And it was really insightful and all. So that's the first part, the, you know, engagement and all, both with team, I mean, with fellow resolution fellow and MasterCard scholars, as well as, you know, the team, the resolution team, and all having those sessions, they were really, really important. That's one. Day, of course, bonding. And I remember there was a lady when we came for this program together. She's a MasterCard scholar. I mean, subsequently we met in Chicago for another program entirely for the Global Engagement Summit, a new program entirely, and also, and that's, I mean, the kind of relationship we need to start building from this AIC event. That's one. Two is I remember myself and my co-founder, we've been trying to reach out to the CEO of the Roddenberry Foundation since God knows when. We applied twice for their Catalyst funding, we didn't get in at all. And it was just amazing that, like, the resolution brought the CEO just to my doorstep, really. I sat down there, had a good conversation with him. It was really nice. And then we got the funding without writing anything at all. So these are the kind of value that this program can bring to you. And of course, beyond the funding too, you have like other people that are there. Your venture may not necessarily match, I mean, their criteria and all, but they have ways of helping you making that connection and contact. I remember like the other guy that Jesse mentioned to, like, link me up to another person that's actually doing something in my space and all. So these are those valuable things you actually gain along beyond the one time of 3 to 4 days meeting, which is very nice. But beyond that, lifelong connection with your other people from, I don't know whether MasterCard scholars are coming this year. With MasterCard scholars, their own experience on their own scholarship program, including, I mean, what we have with the Resolution Fellow, and of course, building that team and that bond, like, for the future. And of course, try to explore New York as much as you can, really, yeah.
Thanks, Tunde. And James, if you want to add your experience of pitching virtually.
Yes, actually, I think I would kind of answer that question a little bit more comprehensively beyond the experience in New York. I did not go to New York this time, but I've been to New York to several resolution events before. It's always like a lively, big city, and there's a lot that is happening. So if you are someone who's attending in person, it's always best to just make sure that you prepare ahead of time. And the good thing is resolution is very supportive. So you do your research on some of other companies or foundations that you would like to connect with while you are there, even beyond those that are participating in the AIC competition. And I'm sure like you will always get connected and to set up some meetings ahead of time. In my own experience, the most value that I actually got out of the AIC experience was the preparation leading up to it. The way it is designed is actually like a learning journey. So for example, I developed like really incredible marketing materials because I was put in touch with a mentor that was helping me put together marketing materials that I still use even now. Communication materials, we had a mentor as well come on board to support us with that. The pitching, how to actually pitch. All these things are things that go beyond this particular competition. They will help you in the future, like pursuit of fundings elsewhere. So that was one key thing that I really took value that I got out of the AIC experience. Pitching online, of course, I was limited to only interacting with the people that were there, like judging my presentation. But at the same time, it made me focus. So I was quite focused on my presentation and focused on actually developing the relationships with the judges and the people and the companies that were actually participating in the competition. For me, like Karanja mentioned, it was very interesting, to see this new model of interacting with funders or potential funders. Most times when you interact with funders, you would expect them, they would be shooting like fire questions at you and all this. But this one was actually very supportive. I remember talking with the CEO of Roddenberry Foundation, and he was asking me about my well-being, how I balance my work and work-life balance, having a young family and trying to balance life. And it came out as a very interactive and very supportive process, as opposed to actually pitching at him and him like trying to grill me for answers and you know, so that part really was an enriching experience. Eventually, we did get the funding support from Roddenberry Foundation as well as from Livelihood, and both of them, they're like, you know, there were tough questions, yes, but at the same time, there were questions that were helping me think through the solutions that we are providing to within the communities that we are working in. So I can only recommend to you as you go into this, look at it like you are actually going for a holistic support from these individuals that will be there, right? And even if you may not get the funding, at least you will remain with the friendship and guidance from some of these companies or foundations that are participating. My colleague who was attending in person was able to interact with several, and she shared the notes with me about other companies, for other participants also that were working on things that are similar to what we are doing and trying to build synergies, how we can actually collaborate among each other. Because I think by the end of the day, like all the work that we are doing, there are interlinkages that exist, and it's important to keep an open mind as you walk into these spaces where, yes, you are pitching, it's like you are competing against each other, but at the same time, if the ideas, if there is an alignment, please build that alignment and explore that alignment and see how you can collaborate with each other. Thank you.
I mean, sorry, just to quickly add, I mean, again, it's not just about your venture alone. There are other things also to look forward to, right? I remember, I mean, when we went was also the time for the Young Leaders Now Award and all. And I remember meeting, I'm a doctor by profession. I remember meeting, Michelle introduced me to another doctor because I told her some things about, like, you know, what I want to do post and masters and things like that. So I was able to speak with one of the doctors and one of the resident, doing his practice within one of the hospitals in the US, and we had a very good conversation around that. And he also like shared with me what it does as per like his venture and things like that. So that was, so beyond your venture, look at, just have a kind of things you actually want to actually discuss beyond your venture, both personal development, venture one, and a whole lot of things like that. Just like James just said now, beyond that, funders also ask for your well-being and things around that. And I remember last year, December, so I spent Christmas with one of the AIC participants in London. So it's just about like forming a relationship, building that kind of relationship, and you get to like talk about a lot of things and all. And along the way, people see some things that are not necessarily like tailored towards their venture, but it could be useful to you. So with that kind of friendship and all, they send it to you and they also like, help you with that also. Those are very important things beyond even the funding and, everything around it.
Alicia, I see you have your hand raised. Did you have a question?
Yes, sir. I was still admiring the words that are coming out of Tunde. And first of all, I want to appreciate the time that you have given us, Tunde, Jesse, and James. I have 3 questions. And the first one is, I was wondering if you guys can share a few tips of the things that you think worked for you, or what exactly you did right in the moment while interacting with the funders, but also while preparing your pitch deck, and probably the things that, looking back, you think that if probably I perfected this or I did this better, it would even enhance or improve my interaction and the output that I got out of this particular opportunity. The second question is, I had a few of you are dealing with farming ventures or something around the agriculture value chain. So, and the few times that I've had to interact with people in the US that are into agriculture, they have this huge perspective about farming. When you talk about a smallholder farmer, they think of someone who is probably farming on 1,000 hectares, and yet for us, a smallholder farmer is really a smaller one who is either doing it on a 50 by 50 feet or something like that. So how did you find yourself aligning their expectations with the reality of your work on the ground? And the last question is, besides the funding that probably we are trying to seek for, did you see something like collaborations or opportunities for knowledge brokerage coming into play within a fellow and the partner, besides the inter between the fellow and fellow? Because I had James, I think, talking about partnerships between fellows and fellows that found alignment in the work. But also, did you find a possibility of having collaborations grow from relationships between you and probably the funders or partners that you found in the US? Thank you so much.
Alicia, I think because of the echo, there are some aspect of your questions that I missed, but I will try to. If you also don't mind, you can just like in the chat a few bullet points on the question for clarity purposes on our end. But I'll try to answer the part that I got, particularly on the tips. You know, one of the things that I realized when we were presenting, one is, of course, like all presentation begin like this. You know, you begin with the problem statement, and then you go to the solution. You go to the cost of how much it will cost you to implement that solution. You go to the you talk about the impact that you're already creating, and so these are some of the main elements of your presentation. I'm sure by now, you know, to be actually participating as part of the AIC, you already know these things, but I can just repeat them again. I think it is really important not to spend too much time on the problem, but also making sure that you are able to define the problem properly. And then the obvious one is really ensuring, like, why is it that? Because whatever you're doing, I'm sure there are thousands of other people that are trying to do it. But why is it you that we have to invest in? Like, why? Like, why do you care about this problem? Like, what is your story, right? So really pinpointing that and not like dwelling too much on it, but at the same time highlighting like why you are the one doing this. Why do you care about it? Like, what is the problem? Why do you care about it? How are you doing it different from others? What is the impact that you've already been able to accomplish? And what is the potential impact that you're looking for if someone invests in your solution, right? So these are some of the things that are really essential. Last year, I remember different funders look for different things. For example, Livelihood was looking for real impact, especially on livelihoods, right? How many people is your solution able to reach? And what is the cost effectiveness of that particular solution, right? And so that's one thing that I will really tell you to try and iron out before you go to the pitching session. And then number two, which I actually think was helpful last year, is the pre-interaction with some of these potential funders. So last year we had a time where we were meeting one-on-one. So for mine, I met one-on-one virtually with these potential funders that now became our partners, and we had a human-to-human connection from there. Like, you know, I was able to share my story that I know I will not share like during the presentation. So by the time I went for the presentation, they already had some context why I'm doing this. So use that particular time, if it is going to be there again this year, where you are meeting with the potential funders beforehand. Use that time to at least bring the human element to the room if you are going to be there in person. In terms of possibilities for technical collaborations and knowledge sharing, for us, we did not, we explored. I was listening very well, even though I had limitation on because I was attending virtually, but I listened to all the other presentation, even when my presentation was done. And there were some solutions actually that I found very interesting. For example, there was one young man from innovation within livestock keeping space. This is a space that we are interested in venturing in at some point at our organization. And I have this at the back of my mind that this is someone that I can go to when that time comes. So there has not been like a direct collaboration yet, but I know that just listening to other people present, even Karanja, like I met with him in Nairobi, like Karanja, am I right? Did we meet in Nairobi recently, right? Yeah. So we met recently in Nairobi.
Yeah, we did.
And I was able to connect the dots. Oh, when he told me about what he does, I was like, wow, yeah. I remember you presenting, and I thought your presentation was very interesting, right? Already, that's at least something also that I have. The model that he's using, I may not be working on that directly, but at least I will keep an eye out for any potential collaboration if a situation alignment occurs. In terms of the technicalities of how you can collaborate, I think that's something that Resolution can help you with, like, you know, signing MOUs and all the other aspect of it. Will just be a normal business collaboration like any other. So I'll stop from there. I hope that I capture like what you had asked for, but if there is something I missed, you can always get back to me.
Right, okay. I think I'll go next, Somali. That was a very loaded question, but not a problem. I think I was able to capture most of what she was saying despite the audio issues. I think on the tips, I think you asked two things when having the conversations with the potential partners or funders, as well as the pitch deck. So when having those conversations, I'd say just make sure to research, you know, just do your background research on them as much as possible. Know what, I think James has alluded to this, and I know I'll reference a lot of what James has said. Just do a lot of research, know what they usually are interested in, so that you might also know who you sort of like concentrate on, so to speak. Yeah. Although, yes, you'll have a chance to speak to everyone, I think it's always important to know what areas of expertise they're interested in, what they've done themselves, so that it even enriches the conversations you have. Secondly, I think what worked for me was it was a very honest conversation. And again, James has said this, so it's more of a lot of us are working on ventures that, you know, or problems that we ourselves have experienced. And so especially the one-on-one conversations give you a time to be able to clearly articulate some of these problems and just have a very human-to-human conversation with them. And I think this really helped a lot. And thirdly, is just this, it's always okay to over-prepare, because you don't know what you'll encounter. So an example is, when I was having a conversation with Jeremy from Livelihood, as I mentioned, he's been in the coding space in Kenya for a while. So he, you know, he knows even some of our competition here, like Moringa and the likes. I think he's worked in the board, etc. So the conversation with him was, you know, richer than anyone else on the panel. And at some point, I remember I even had to pull out our Excel sheet, you know, with the raw data to sort of like back the point I was trying to drive. So I'd not thought that, you know, it would come to that, but given how well he understood the market, I needed to sort of like prove the numbers and prove exactly what I was saying. So I always tell guys, just over prepare, have each and every piece of document or material you need with you as you travel to New York, because you never know when it might come in handy. On the pitch deck, again, I think on the structure, James has captured it quite well. Two things, just focus on the why, and more importantly, the ask as well. Because at the end of the day, you're there to get funding. So be sure to handle that particular aspect of the pitch deck quite intricately. The second one is time. I think we're working with 15 minutes, if I'm not wrong, Somali. That's inclusive of the pitching and the Q&A section. So just keep time. I think the shorter the better. Just do your 5 minute standard pitch, then give everyone an opportunity to ask whatever question they might have. The other thing is practice. Practice as much as possible on your own. 15 minutes. Somalia has confirmed it. So practice as much as possible. I think this really helped us because my co-founder and myself had been, doing a lot of pitches before. So even preparing for that particular pitch on that day was not so hard. And also, your fellow participants are your greatest resource. I think this has been alluded to in different ways by the two other speakers, and I'll still stress it. So you can also use them, not really use sounds bad, but yeah, just leverage on the network to practice as much as possible. Tunde and I were practicing our pitch to each other that morning. Yeah, I think he mentioned we were roommates. So, he did a run through, I did a run through, gave each other feedback, and we were able to work on it before we got on stage. And finally, I'm not sure how the structure will be this time, but we had the one-on-one sessions a day before the pitches. So those conversations allowed us to be able to sort of like update or enrich the pitch deck, our pitches, before we got on stage the following day. So yeah, just be very keen on the feedback you receive so that you're able to incorporate it and sort of like just increase your chances before you go up on stage. The second question was, I think, agricultural based, which I think I'll pass because my venture is not in that particular field. And the third one is on opportunities for collaboration other than funding, which of course are a lot. A lot of these companies, there are many synergy points between the companies that will be there and the funders. And so, and so I think through your conversations with them, you can always find them and see how best you guys can leverage on it. Personally, for us, I guess I've said this already with Jeremy, the fact that he's been in the space. There are a couple of even insights he gave me in terms of what he did with income share agreements and stuff. And he also actually introduced us to a competition in Rwanda who we're now having conversations around partnering. So I think the opportunities are limitless, in my opinion. Other than funding, there are always other benefits to the program. Just make sure you're alive enough to capture them.
So I just wanted to add to Jesse something that I had forgotten on tips. Let me just, clarity of your presentation is very important. Like I know English is not our first language, is one of many languages, which is the beautiful part about it, but I would highly recommend that when you are presenting, don't get lost in like jargons and big terms and all this. Keep it simple, but clear. Just keep it simple, but clear. And pace yourself, like, of course, through the practice that you will do, you will be able to know how much time you can take to actually complete. Because when you don't do that and then you start feeling like you are rushing, you will now stumble and you may miss presenting like the most important points that you were supposed to present. Keeping it precise is important, and then have like more information, like Jesse was saying, more information at the background, so that if they ask a question, you can pull that information to explain it more. But just keep it simple, keep it concise. I wanted to hear about the farming piece that you were saying, because I'm in that space. But I heard about, I don't know, 1,000 acres or something, but I missed that part. I'm happy to answer that because that's the space that I'm in.
I don't know, do you still have background? Is there still background names? Do I still have background names?
I can hear you.
Echo.
Yeah, because James, my question, around the agriculture was that my experience working, having conversations with US people who are into agriculture, their expectation of a smallholder farmer is someone who is farming with like 1,000 hectares of land. And yet in our own spaces, personally in Uganda, a smallholder farmer is someone who is even farming in a backyard or 50 by 50 piece of land. So my question was, this third one that I've written, how did you find yourself aligning the US partners' expectation, for example, in agriculture, to your business realities back at home?
Okay, that is a good question. And I'm glad that you asked it here because I remember having conversations like this with Livelihood. Actually, they do understand the context. Some of these funders are not, they are US based, yes, but they are working internationally. So they have a full understanding or a better scope of how the situation is in your own context. But by the end of the day, you are the one who is telling the story that you have lived yourself. So it's upon you to stand your ground and actually like explain the context given where you are coming from. I remember going into like discussing pitching to a separate pitch all together with the World Food Program Innovation Accelerator, and they were pushing back to me about like acquiring a tractor for farming, because for them, they think that is something that is going to pollute the environment and all this. I stood my ground and I told them, listen, I see where you are coming from, but to be honest, one of the biggest limitations for smallholder farmers is lack of farm implements, right? Now, if you are telling me that one tractor that is shared by more than 500 smallholder farmers is going to be polluting the environment, have you looked at your own footprint, carbon footprint in your own office alone? Leave alone, what you do generally. So I stood my ground and I explained to them like the context that I'm working in and why this is important. And they were able to understand. We went through with that partnership. So it's important to know that you don't have to bend your own values or your own thinking because of potential partnership. Because the most important aspect of a partnership is you have to align even in thinking as well about the solution and the problem. Yeah, thank you.
Tunde, did you have an answer to any of the questions? And then we can move on to Jennifer's question.
I think for me, I particularly found the one-to-one conversation very insightful, really, because I kind of think that's, I don't know, don't quote me on this. I kind of think that's where the funding will be decided. It's just my personal thought, really, because like we connected on that human-to-human level, just like they've said, and we talked about a whole lot of things, and it gave like very good insight to a couple of things that I didn't really get where I wasn't particularly clear about. That's one. Two is that at the end of the day, like James said, all these people, they may be based in the US, but they work internationally. They know the reality on ground in Africa and around the world and stuff like that. So you should be able to explain things the way you see them and the way they are, and also your long-term projection and goals, and how you intend to get there really to them. And of course, when you are also having this one-on-one conversation and you come to finance, like, in terms of like your acts or what, because most of them will ask you. I remember like the CEO of Woodenberry asked me, the amount we want and what we intend to do with them. Yeah, so I already prepared for that. I knew the specific amounts, at least a rough estimate of those things that made up the whole amount. I was able to give him that really. And another thing is that most of the time, Resolution has tried to actually bring you in a room with funders. So whatever, from there, you have to actually decide what you do with those funders from there on. And some other things can include, okay, with Woodenberry, now we send a kind of like, what's the name? A kind of impact stuff, like our, what we've been able to achieve in 6 months. Though they didn't ask for that, but we sent them just to actually make sure they're in contact with us and in touch with us. They can see what we're using their money for and the value that money is actually creating. So it's easier to actually trust us with what they've given us and establish something like, for the longer term, really. So those are some of those things I think, in addition to what Jesse and James have said. So those are other things that may be very important, really. They've created that venue for you, just try and like build on that partnership, do something extra so you could actually just stand out beyond the funding they're giving you now.
And Jennifer, I see you have your hand raised.
All right, thank you very much. My question, thank you for the beautiful insights you have shared to us and from your experience. But I would want to know, could you, even some of us here who are sharing their experience, share specific challenges you faced during, maybe with pitching to presenting your organization, your pitches, or could it be personal interaction with the investors? Could you share some of those specific personal and venture-related challenges that you faced during that period that you would love us to know and be like, okay, I think if I did this better, it would have been such in a better way. I am really excited to hear such specific challenges and how you look or you learned how to overcome, so that maybe we go prepared with such challenges. Thank you.
Jennifer, I just maybe one thing that I can recommend in terms of interaction, especially, it's important to try and do one thing. Like, mindset is very important when you walk into these rooms. At least this is something that I've come to learn. Mindset, that the power dynamics is very important to this is a mindset issue. Like, when you walk into a room, you're not interacting with someone that is above you. You are interacting with somebody that you are collaborating with to really address the issues that you are trying to address. So you have a value that you are bringing on the table. You are the one that is in the front line, right? So it's good to bring that frontline voice and confidence to the room, because they need you. Like this potential funders, they need people like you, and you need them. So it's not like when you go in, and especially I want to insist on this as an African, because we have this power dynamic issue as Africans, where, as simple as anyone that is your boss or even asking questions is a big issue for us as Africans. It's traditionally, you feel afraid to ask a question to someone that is maybe higher than you in terms of power or age and all this. So I can really tell you to leave that at the door when you walk in, and approach it as you are equals. You are people that are trying to find durable solutions together, and ask strategic questions that can actually also help you understand the thinking of these people. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just to add to what James has said, I mean,
Very
again,
much. Actually, I remember I met you in Nairobi for the African Summit at the African Pavilion.
Oh yes, with the AU, you were with the AU?
Sure, I was there.
Okay, all right. Pleasure, good to see you here.
Sure, thank you.
yeah, I mean, okay, yeah. Thank you, James. I think at the end of the day, you've been doing this for a very long time, a very, very long time. So you understand your business, your venture, your challenges, and your, projections and your goals, really, what you intend to achieve and all. So just see this as a conversation, especially the one-on-one conversation, see it as a conversation. At that point of, having that one-on-one conversation, you are just like somebody that's gone through different levels of their internal processes, and you've gotten to the final, basically. So you have a very good chance, because that means you are that good that you got to the final, basically. So just sit down with them, have that conversation, be honest and be very open. Again, no stuff around your venture, because a lot of them can pose questions that you would ordinarily not expect. Not to take you off guard, but it's just to actually understand whether you actually know what you're talking about in terms of your venture, because most of them actually have experience working in those areas and in those sectors and stuff like that, right? So sit down with them, have a conversation. It's not just show them, what you have, and then sometimes you are not particularly sure about something, tell them what you know, and then, seek guidance beyond, seek guidance. How they can, help you help you in a way. Because I remember there was a time when I was discussing about the next stage of our venture, and I was discussing about drone operations and things like that. And he had some really insightful question, which I've not thought about in terms of like how many do we need to actually cover like such, because we are thinking of maybe we'll get 2 and we start with that, but it was like maybe 2 may not be enough for a start. Maybe we'll look at 5 and then that could cover this video. So we had the conversation around that like that. But again, it's about like having a conversation with them and seeking, I mean, like also seeking for help. And that's 1. 2 is that again, like the other person asked the other time, when you're having this one-on-one conversations, you can also ask about like other things they have like for their supposed fellow or people that got their grants beyond the grants. Really, do they have any other support like for them? Do they have any other like, you know, maybe like resource for them, things around that you can have those conversations with them today? Will tell you whether they do or they tell you whether they don't, and if they do, they'll tell you the pathway and stuff to actually access those things really. And yeah, I think that's the only thing I want to add.
Okay, I'll keep it brief. I think in as much as, yes, most of these guys have worked in Africa and understand the problems, I personally encountered, yes, an issue of, you know, 1 or 2 not understanding really what the problem really is, and especially how we are going about it. If it's just the issue of affordability of school fees, that's known. But for us now, the issue of credit and how it's set up, how to follow up on students, you know, the debt being a very behavioral thing, and so how people relate to debt in Kenya compared to how they relate to it in New York. So there are certain you know, disparities that I was able to pick out in our conversation, but in a very general sense, at least most of them understand the problems. Most of them have been here, so it was not a really big problem. The second thing, and I think James has alluded to this, and I'll just be very honest about this, is also imposter syndrome, which is very normal. A lot, like someone like me, first time in New York, you walk into a room of potential funders, you actually, you know, might doubt yourself, yeah, and it happened, as it happens also often to a lot of us. And you know, that also happened, whether it was during the bilateral talks or during the pitch day, you know, just probably not feeling like you really belong. But maybe I can just use this time to actually, you know, confirm that you actually belong. Yeah, the far that you've gotten. I think I was listening. It's quite coincidental. I was listening to a podcast this morning on the same, and you know, just they were insisting on the value of just writing down those thoughts whenever you have imposter syndrome, and also writing down all what you've achieved or how far you've come, if it's you know, venture related in this case, and at least using that to confirm to yourself that you really belong in those rooms. So I think that might happen, but you know, if no one else tells you, Jesse will. Yeah, you actually belong. You actually belong. Yeah, I'll share it, Somali. I'll share it. I'll just drop it in the comments right now, the comment box right now.
And Lana, I saw your hand raised earlier. Did you also have a question?
Yes, hi guys. First of all, thank you so much for your insights and sharing your journey with us, because right before this call, I was actually working on my pitch deck. And you know, I was kind of finding it hard to find the confidence to feel like I did belong. But you know, so thank you guys so much. I think a lot of the questions I wanted to ask has been covered in some shape or form, but maybe if you could share with us what kind of, just after your pitch deck, what kind of like metrics or key performance indicators like the investors were mostly asking about, what kind of feedback or questions you received after your presentation maybe. And then I would like to ask a little bit more about your journey post funding as well. But first, the metrics.
Yeah, thank you, Lana, for the question. On the metrics, I think this one is something that is venture specific, like depending with your venture and the problem that you are addressing and the solution that you're proposing. I think it's important for you to do your own due diligence before, like to look at the baseline indicators that you are trying to prove with your solution. What is the landscape before you implemented this solution, and how will those change if you actually implement, because that's where you build out your key metrics, and then those ones again, like any other part of your presentation, you are defining them based on how you know the problem, and you're defining them based on the solution that you are presenting. Of course, questions will come up, and the questions that will come through, okay, like somebody wants to understand, okay, why those indicators and why those metrics, and then now you will come back with your answers. But having at least 3 key metrics of success is important, and you can get those from your own analysis of your solution and the problem that you are presenting on.
Yeah, I mean, I think to quickly add to that, I like seeing metrics as what I've done up until that point I'm pitching, and what I will do from that point onward, really. So like, let's say, okay, I started my venture about 3-4 years ago. So I'll tell them what I've achieved between, I mean, okay, so I have about 2, 3, or 4 key metrics, like you said. So I'll actually like tell them, I mean, how those has changed between when I started and now, and with their funding or with their help or anything, how that would change over the next 1 year with their funding, or 2 years with their funding, something like that. So it gives perspective, and actually give a kind of, it gives a validation to what you can actually do, what you've done and what you can do. So when they are seeing that like, between like 2-3 years, you've been able to change something from 0 to 6% or 0 to 10%, and I'm telling them in the next 1 year, I will do 3% extra, then it makes more sense than you've not told me anything. I don't know what you're doing, and you're just telling me from here, you're going to 100%. Then you start looking like, I don't know, shady. And also it's good to just give them a kind of context. This and this, when we started, things were this bad, and between then with this support we got from these people and that, we've been able to do this. With this further support between, I mean, I like putting time really, because it's very important. People can actually hold you accountable really. So between like 2024 and maybe 25 or so, with your support and funding, we'll actually be able to, like, you know, lift, I don't know, about maybe 10 extra part of poverty and stuff like that. So things like that will actually, like, you know, help put perspective and validate what you intend to do really. Yeah.
And finally, please make sure that like your key metrics, at least because the funders, they know how much they are actually investing in your venture already. Like walking in, they have already briefed themselves. They know like how much they are willing to invest in each venture, how many ventures they are going to invest in. But that should not limit you in the amount that you're looking for. If you're looking for 50,000 and the funder is able to commit like 20,000, at least showcase what within the metrics, what you are going to do with that 20,000, and how much success you can get with that 20,000, and how you can make up for the difference that they have not funded, and which other sources. You can do that by showcasing other partners that have already joined you on your journey, some other partners that are in conversations with you, in addition to the good thing is these partners, they don't discriminate each other. So the more there are more people that are supporting you, the better. Like they will not feel jealous. Oh, why is Lana having like 10 funders? Oh, but where is our space? But at the same time, you need to showcase the value that they are going to create for you if they add their $20,000 or their $10,000 within your metrics.
Right. Okay. I think the question, your first question on the questions asked has been answered. Pretty the same for everyone. I'll just focus on, I think, post AIC. There's a question you asked on how the ventures are doing post AIC, and I'd say I think Tunde has alluded to some of the wins they're already experiencing. Personally, for us, the funding and the connections we've gotten through AIC, I think, have taken us a long way. So I think our biggest win right now being the fact that we've also launched a pilot in Nigeria now. So just operational in Kenya, launched a pilot about 2 or 3 months ago in Nigeria, and hopefully if that goes well, we might be incorporating there as well, amongst other things, of course, that helped even with operations, being able to build out more of our structures, our tech platforms, etc. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, we've actually like launched out into a couple of other things, like building on the success we already have with our venture. So we're just looking at, we initially started with just like connecting voluntary donors to hospitals, to like blood bank and stuff like that. So we've been able to like build on the transport side, being to like set as logistics service now. And now we've also set out to actually like own our own operational blood bank, and where we can actually like have like quality control and stuff like that. And after that, we've been able to branch out also to creating a kind of system that these hospitals, blood bank, and everybody can actually manage the operations. Like, but keeping your ways to actually ensure that you're actually like keeping track of your blood levels in the blood bank, to make sure anytime any particular blood type is low, you can have a kind of alert system, and the alert operate like within those cycles, can inform the donor to come and things like that. And on the funding side, we've been able to like do a lot more. I mean, got some funding from USADF and some other partners like that. So it's been really amazing. For me, I think even beyond the AIC, just being the resolution fellow has been really wonderful for me, really. It's been like, life-changing, like beyond like the AIC, really, yeah.
And I think, on the questions part, the team is also very important. So yes, you guys have identified a problem. Probably it's a very personal problem to you. The question always arises as to why you're the best person to actually solve that particular problem. Whether it's you or the entire team, very important. AIC and beyond, whenever you're speaking to any investor, I think that's a conversation that will always arise. So I think that's one to also take note of. Yeah.
And also, I mean, during the solution session too, like we had some like really nice ideas from people. I mean, like I remember we had some problem with I had some problem with my venture in terms of like internal workings of the team and all. We had what we do, but I didn't think it was very effective. I remember in solution session, somebody mentioned something which actually transformed the way we work as a team, the dynamics and all. And going back to where I work, I was able to actually like pick up that solution session and actually incorporate it into our own team culture, really. So every Friday we have like kind of a solution session where a member from one particular team tells about their problems, and other people try to figure that out and see how we can actually like have a board where we'll put those like solution and all, and we work through and then like be able to make something concrete for for the entire team, really. So
And being mindful of time, I'm going to end the Q&A session here. But if you have any follow-up questions, please reach out to us. I want to thank James, Jesse, and Tunde again for taking time to join us today. And as a reminder, we have another session at 10 a.m. EST on Thursday with Katie Silla, and she's going to go over the American Friends Fund. But with that, please enjoy the rest of your day. And thanks everyone for joining. We can also connect you as well if you have a specific question, but otherwise, thank you and take care.
Yeah, thank you. You were selected from over 100 and something people, so you've got this, really. Yeah, you've got this.
All right,
Yeah,
thank you so much,
thank you.
team. Congratulations to everyone. All the best. Thank you.
Okay. Take care.
Thank you all.
Thank you so
Congrats.
much.
I wish you all the best.
Thank
You
you.
can-
Bye-bye.
You can reach out to us like through Somali or Michelle. We can, any of us, we are happy to support. The more the resolution fellows succeed, the better for everyone, for the communities we serve. So we wish you all the best.
And if I'm in New York, I'll definitely come around.
Yes, please do.
Yeah, bye.